Alright guys, welcome back into another PGA DFS video. Got the live stream for the 3M Open. I already see about 10 people in here. Get your questions in there. It should be a pretty fun week there for the 3M Open. I mean, I'm pretty excited for this week. The more I look at it, the more I like it, the more I see some value plays out there, and the more people kind of chat up some of these other players that probably shouldn't be chalk, that are kind of looking like they're going to be chalk. I'm really starting to kind of gear up towards this week. So this is a week that I do think we will be able to attack, and it's kind of seemed that way. So make sure to get your questions in here, but I'm going to start off here kind of just on the high end. It does look like Friday could get a little bit windy. So if it does get windy, that's going to favor someone like Tommy Fleetwood quite a bit. It's going to favor someone like Paul Casey quite a bit as well. There's also some other players in there that have played, poorly in windy conditions. Then there's also some players out there that have played, pretty decent in windy conditions. That's going to be something that you can look at a little bit more. So some core plays on FanDuel. I mean, they're going to be the same ones that I have on DraftKings pretty much. I'll go to the FanDuel slide right now and just talk about some of the values there for you. So some of the values on FanDuel is Johnny V at his price point. I really do think that that's a pretty solid discounted play for you on FanDuel. Richie Rowensky, Chasson Hadley, even Scott Stallings was there as well. But Seamus Power really opens up a bunch of lineup paths for you on FanDuel. And on FanDuel, it's not as risky because you can typically fit in another stud on FanDuel. So that'd be kind of the route I would go for FanDuel purposes. Got Chris in here already. What's up, Chris? So, that's a good question. So Chris is asking, since the cash plays are really tough this week, should we play less cash and more GPPs? I mean, it's tough for everyone this week. So it's really, one second. It's really tough to kind of give that answer because it's tough for everyone this week. So I think if you get 4 out of 6, 5 out of 6 across the cut line this week, you're going to be fine. 4 out of 6, obviously, you'd have to have a top 10 finish in there. But for me personally, I have a couple of lineups out there where I feel pretty strong about getting 5 out of 6 across the cut line. Obviously, it's a lot more risky this week, and obviously, there's going to be some close calls in there for made or missed cut. That's just kind of the week that we have. But, to answer your question a little bit more, yeah, it probably would be more of a GPP week because there is a lot more upside. I think that this would be a little bit more of a betting week, as is if you are betting as well. This would be a week where I would kind of just spread out my bets and hope to hit that winner, hope to hit that top 10, because I think that'll be a little bit easier this week. But there are going to be some random miscuts in there. But this is a bad field, but typically in these bad field events, that's when 9 to 5 tends to rise up. So we got a question about the rookie that's coming in. He's had 2 missed cuts, and then Ben Martin as punt play. So Ben Martin popped a little bit for me. I don't like him, though. I ended up not playing him. And then, the rookie, if you want to go with him, I'm perfectly fine with that. He obviously has sucked so far on tour, but, that could just be him getting used to the PGA Tour setting. So I don't mind either of those as really punt plays. If you have to go that low, I'm fine with that. Obviously, I think there's a little bit better options, out there, but it's fine. So, read a question from Jay Norris. So, the 10K range, who's my favorite player up there? So, yeah, I'll just talk about the 10K range in general here. I'll start from Dustin John to Matthew Wolff, actually. So, looking at the stat sheet over here, guys, as well, in case you're wondering. So that's why I'm looking over here. So DJ, he's obviously the highest priced player this week. It is warranted. Obviously he's coming off of victory 2 events ago. Last week was not a good event for him. You didn't really expect much from him last week. Maybe a made cut, but you knew it wasn't the best event for him. So this is an event that really should favor him quite a bit. He's 5th in total driving, 26th in birdie or better percentage, and 14th in strokes gained off the tee. And this is one that I think he can attack aggressively, and if he can make some putts, he's going to have a good week. Don't mind DJ up there at that price point. Don't like Brooks this week, whether it's the knee injury or just the fact that he is not a good stat fit. I mean, obviously, it's Brooks Koepka, major Brooks Koepka. He only plays well in majors, so don't like Brooks this week. And then Tony Finau and Paul Casey, I like a ton. I've already touched on that quite a bit. They're both strong staff. It's both top 5. Tommy Fleetwood's a great play as well. We just haven't seen him, but obviously, if the courses are windy, I think that favors a player like Tommy Fleetwood, who's just been a cut maker pretty much since he's been on the PGA Tour. And then Bubba Watson makes for a fine GPP play, and Matthew Wolff. So my least favorite is definitely Brooks Koepka up there, and then my most favorite is Paul Casey just because of pricing. How does Uline look for a stat fit? Let me pull him up here, and I'll let you know. All right, so Peter Uline. Decent stat fit, but with his miscut last year and his poor recent form, he doesn't really rank out that well for my model this week. So stat fit, he actually ranks top 30, which isn't great. That's mostly due to his birdie or better percentage, his bogey avoidance, and his putting. But he doesn't grade out as a good play. There are some other better, higher upside players value-wise at his price point range as well. On FanDuel, would I go Casey or Fleetwood? I'm going Casey. I think it's just a little bit safer. I think they have about the same upside, which is more likely to miss the cut. I would say Wolff. Wolff has been extremely inconsistent. Norlander's been very consistent. Now, I do worry about Norlander kind of just we've gotten what we had wanted to get out of Norlander pretty much this season, whether it was earlier on in the season or recently as well. It just feels wrong trusting Norlander, but Wolff is priced up way too much. Yes, he won here last year, and he had a 37th finish that won the comp courses, but not the best effort, only top 25. Norlander is top 15, and Norlander's just the better play this week. Let's see here. Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Chris, as well. Happy to help out. We got Taylor Grizz back here. Thoughts on Power? Yeah, I really do like Power quite a bit. I saw him on Yahoo. He's kind of the default Yahoo $20 play, and I'll bring up that slide here real quick, the Yahoo slide. So we got Power is the $20 play you can go with there, Grizz. So I'm perfectly fine with using him as the Yahoo play for Yahoo, or for the lowest price player that you can use on Yahoo, but you got Scott Stallings, you got Richie Rowensky right there. And then you also have Patrick Rogers at $22. Henrik Norlander at $24. Norlander and Rogers are both 8K plays on DraftKings, whereas Stallings and Rowensky are, 7.5K plays on DraftKings or so. So that's really where the value's at. So I would, I don't necessarily love Rogers this week, but if he does make the cut, he does have some serious top 10 upside. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Yahoo. Obviously, I really like Scott Stallings and Richie Rowensky quite a bit, but at their price points on Yahoo for two players that should make the cut, I like that quite a bit. And then Henrik Norlander, we kind of just touched on him. Top 15 stat fit. He had a 9th finish that won the comp courses. Obviously, just in great recent form. 4 made cuts in a row, not a bad play. And I do want to talk about Will Gordon here. Got him up here on the slide for Yahoo. You can play him pretty much on any site. His price point is not the best overall. It seems like the sites really thought that people would want to play him this week, which I get. Let's see here. He's 16th in stroke gain off the tee. That's fine. And he's 15th in birdie or better percentage. Everything else is kind of iffy. But those are kind of the two stats that you want to do well at this course. So that's why he ranks out as a decent play. And obviously he had some really good finishes in there before his last event, which was a miscut. But, he kind of burned some people, but I don't really know why he was as high owned that week as he was. It was kind of just people kind of chasing an outcome, it seemed like, with him. All right, let me get caught up on some of the questions here. Will Gordon or Homa for GPPs? Didn't see that. Yeah, I'm fine with Will Gordon. Patrick Rogers, I see that question as well. Top 10 bet. Yeah, you can throw a little bit on him for a top 10 bet. I think he has kind of a higher likelihood to miss the cut, but if he does make the cut, he could easily top 10. Thoughts on Lucas Glover this week? So Lucas Glover, I do like. I like Lucas Glover quite a bit this week. He actually ranks out as pretty much the best play on the board, just given his price point, given his likelihood to make the cut, comp course history. He just ranks out as a guy that should be able to make the cut and probably top 30. So Glover should be a great play, but sometimes those top plays don't always pan out. But you just keep playing him because more times than not it's gonna be right. It does kind of hurt playing Lucas Glover, especially having him ranked as the best golfer this week, price point wise, value wise. But that's just kind of the week that we have. So yeah, I like Glover quite a bit. Chase Seifert. Seifert, I forgot what me and Hazy decided on the betting podcast yesterday. Check out the betting podcast too, guys. The last 4 weeks, it's gotten better each and every week. So the betting podcast yesterday was great. I have the episode up here on Yahoo. Really solid, and it just keeps getting better. I think that we pretty much nailed this week as well. So definitely check that out. But Chase Seifert, I'll go with. I'm fine with him as a GPP play. I do like the price point for him. It's a solid price point. He's obviously shown the upside, but it just seems a little bit risky. Don't play him in cash. If you want to play him in GPPs, that's fine. Will he be under 10% though? I would imagine. I don't see why people would be chasing his outcomes that much. There's some other better players in that range where they're more likely to make the cut and they have just as much upside. So I would be pretty shocked if he was over 10% owned. I'm not really sure if other people are talking him up. It'd be kind of weird if a lot of people were talking him up. Okay. Angus, is that the guy? I think I saw him on PGA Tour Live, so no. Any guy that's pretty much a Monday qualifier that I don't bring up on the live stream is not going to be someone that I'm on this week. So no, their pizza, not on him. Cam Davis question from Alex. So Cam Davis, he is so interesting as a play this week. He was really popping for me early on in the week. Really thought he was going to be a guy that I ended up on in my player pool quite a bit, and it just didn't happen. I do like his price point, and he hasn't been golfing poorly. Obviously, he hasn't made the cut since the break, but it's been right around there, 1 stroke or 2 strokes off, which in this lower caliber field, he should be able to make the cut. It just worries me. I would have loved to have seen a made cut or two. Obviously, he wouldn't be priced this low, but he does rank out as a top 25 stat fit, and he's kind of a decent GPP play at that price point. I think it's a little bit more risky. I think there's some safer options in his price point range, but I definitely get Cam Davis as a GPP play this week. Is Brooks trolling us with the knee thing? I don't know. I really don't know. He could be. Yeah, a lot professional athletes tend to do that quite a bit, actually. But he isn't a great play this week. We've seen him struggle pretty much, I don't want to say the whole year, but he hasn't played that well this whole year, especially to warrant this price point. I just don't see the point in playing him. Even if he wins, the right decision was not to play him because of his price point, because of his form and the knee thing. Now, sure, if you're playing a ton of builds, if you're max entering and you want to throw him into 10% of your builds, that is fine. Whatever. I'm fine with that. But Tony Finau, Tommy Fleetwood, Paul Casey, they're all better plays. Heck, Bubba Watson is a much, much better stat fit. And I guess you could say they're about in the same recent form. Obviously, Bubba hasn't really been making cuts, but some of the events recently since the break haven't really favored Bubba Watson at all. Bubba Watson's a guy that he knows what courses he should be playing, and he knows what courses fit his style of game. This is one of those courses that should really fit Bubba's game. Technically speaking, it should, help Brooks, but Brooks played horrible here last year as well. So let's see here. Got some more questions in. Who do I like the most between Moore, Armour, Harmon? So Moore has the biggest GPP upside, but the dude is so hit or miss. So for like cut equity, it's Harmon, Armour, Moore, but I think Moore has the most GPP upside. I get the Bubba Watson love. I do quite. I get it. I don't think he should be high owned though. Like if you're doing mass entries, once again, 10%, 15%, because he hasn't been making cuts, and I think players eventually have to make cuts. But I think I kind of summed it up pretty well there with Bubba, kind of why people are talking him up this week, because it is warranted. Thoughts on Wiesberger? So don't like Wiesberger this week. I think that's people are just looking at the world golf rankings and kind of going with that. We talked about on the betting podcast, like kind of why and how the official golf world rankings are kind of skewed improperly. You got a guy like Harris English who, just based on the field, you could make a strong argument that, he's like the 4th best golfer in the field, where he ranks over 100th in the world golf rankings. He's definitely a better golfer than Eric Van Rooyen and Wiesberger this year. if we just look at this year, definitely better than those two. So, I don't always like to look at the world golf rankings, and I think that's why like those two players have been getting talked up quite a bit. My top three picks being cash, I can give you two of them. Actually, I can only give you Glover. I mean, Glover is that, and then because Glover's like the only one this week that's checking all the boxes: recent form, stab fit, and course/comp course history. It's Lucas Glover, and then I also do really like Tony Finau and Paul Casey, but obviously it's going to be really tough for you to fit those three into a build. Yeah. So thoughts on Chasson Hadley? Thanks for asking. Let me pull up his stats here. Actually, I don't need to. I got them pretty much memorized. The guy is a top 11 stat fit, okay? He's priced at a decent price point range. He's made 3 out of the last 4 cuts. Course history and comp course history is a little bit spotty. At his price point, though, he is priced at a spot where he could absolutely go off. It's really not going to surprise me if he somehow goes off and wins, okay? That's how good of a stat fit he is. Now, obviously, I don't expect that. Not really expecting a top 20 finish. But I kind of expect him to make the cut. And if he does make the cut, this is a guy that maybe after the first round, you could throw some bets at him for to top 10 or something like that. I just really think he's a strong GPP play this week. And if you're, trying to make a cash build and you're really struggling to find some guys in the 7K, 8K range, and you kind of just want to do, 4 players on the top end or 3 players on the top end, like one 7K player that you really believe is going to make the cut, and you go with Chasson Hadley as kind of a punt play, maybe, scheduling in a missed cut, which this week I don't find as a bad thing. You would schedule in Chasson Hadley as like the potential missed cut, but he does have some great cut upside to make the cut, and I think he could finish top 20. Gooch is all right. I don't mind Taylor Gooch. He should make the cut. Yeah, David, so is Tony Finau and DJ in the same lineup, a valuable GPP lineup? So if you like that, I'm perfectly fine with that. There are some value plays this week that are decent. You could go that route for sure. Yeah, so for FanDuel, that's one of the biggest draws for FanDuel is that you can fit 4 studs into your build. So it's 4 studs as in Casey, English, Fleetwood, and Glover. Bad idea on FanDuel. No, I like it because there are some cheaper value plays that you can kind of, once again, you might schedule in a missed cut, but I think the number of lineups at 6 for 6 is only going to be about 3% this week. Now, obviously, that's very hard to predict. Some of the chalk could really hit, but I think the ownership is going to be spread out enough, and I think some of the ownership that we're seeing already is on some players that it shouldn't be. People are chasing some outcomes there. Yeah, Armour, I don't. Let me pull up Armour here for you there. Give me a second. So Ryan Armour, top 38 stat fit. He's pretty decent in birdie or better percentage, 47th in that, 64th in strokes gained tee to green. That's okay. He's an okay 12 driver and ball striker. Had a 42nd finish here last year. Yeah, he should make the cut. But I think like Scott Stallings, Richie Rowensky are a little bit safer. They've shown a little bit more recent form. They have some comp course history. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to do a water break here. Actually, it's a little bit of a sparkling water break. All right, so Van Rooyen, yeah, it's seeming like he's going to be overowned, but I think if the Friday weather, that might benefit him a little bit. But yeah, it's looking like he's going to be overowned. Don't really like Matthias Schwab this week. Am I worried about fatigue at all for Finau this week? No, I think fatigue is one of like content providers' talking points where it's kind of like a content filler. Now, I do think it does come into play sometimes. But I think Finau knows his body and like knows like when to play and when not to play. I don't think he'd be playing if he was worried about, not doing well. So no, I'm not really worried about fatigue. Stallings or Vegas, if you have to pick. Stallings in cash, Vegas and GPPs. Vegas is a strong GPP play this week. We just worry a little bit about his consistency. But the dude's a great stat fit. I mean, this course really sets up well for Johnny V, especially. if it gets windy a little bit too. I mean, he's a top 12 stat fit, and he's ranked strong in what you want to rank strong in this week. Total driving, ball striking, and birdie or better percentage. So he ranks out really well in those. Luke List thoughts? I'm fine with Luke List. Hate the price point though. Wow, that is a horrible price point for Luke List. Same thing with like Sam Burns there. I mean, even Doc Redman and Norlander there. I mean, the whole 8K range is horrible pricing, to be honest with you. Just so bad. It's really painful to pay out for them, especially starting with Van Rooyen, where it's like, sure, if he was priced at the bottom of the 8K range, I would get it a lot more. Doc Redman, obviously his recent form is spotty because of last week, but last week wasn't the best event for him. I expect Doc Redman to make the cut. He's a top 10 stat fit. And you got Norlander there, who we do expect to make the cut. Sam Burns, who GPP play only. He has some really great upside. Same thing with Luke List, who has looked better recently, but it's like, man, I don't even know if I'd pay for Luke List at like 7-8 this week. So it's worrisome. I did kind of like Brennan Todd this week. I had like 6 of my like top 20 players this week going into the week. Decide not to play, which sucks. I'm reading about the Pat Mayo show. So Bubba got cursed. Okay. Yeah, that's not a real thing. So and English tweeted about being fatigued. Yeah, I don't worry about it. I think these golfers know how to handle their body, and even if he is fatigued, he still should make the cut. So I'm not really worried about it. Maybe he just said that to take some attention away from him. Yeah, so Schwab, I don't really like him this week. Don't really see the point of paying for him. There's a lot of guys week to week where from like, if I were to rank out all 65 players I think are going to make the cut, there's a lot of group of players in there from like 35 to 65. And that's probably where Schwab would fall this week if I were to do that. But I only do like the top 30 or 35 plays each week in my player pool. So I don't really like him this week. I think there's better players around him. All right, so 6,300 or less. So let me scroll down here. Once again, I'm just looking at the stat sheet on the 9 to 5 page. If you guys want to be able to look at that, it's $10 a month. You know, I'd pretty much do all the work for you with the stat sheet. It's all right there for you. You guys don't have to do anything. The key stats are all listed there, and you can just use your eyes and look at them, decide which players you like as well. So if you have to go down to that pricing range, 6,300. Man, that's tough. So Sean Stefani is okay. Don't love it. He had a 15 finish here last year. Had a 33 finish at one of the comp courses. He's the top 45 stat fit. It's not great. Okay. I really hate saying it, but probably DJ Trahan, top 14 stat fit. Recent form has been garbage. Has a made cut and a made cut and a missed cut for comp course history. Didn't play here last year. The recent form is trash, like I said, just horrible. So I don't really feel confident with anyone down there. Now I do want to mention Peter Malnati, 3 straight made cuts, comp course and recent or course history. So horrible stat fit, but he's a guy that's kind of showing some upside recently. So those 3 players are fine. Don't love it though. Yeah, so he got it. So Stefani, yeah, he's worth a shot if you have to go that low. If you really love your build and you're stuck at that price point range where you can't get up to someone like, I believe Cam Davis is 6.4 this week. Let's see here. Nick Watney's a decent play. Tim Wilkinson's okay as well. Yeah, if you can't get up and you really like your build, yeah, probably Stefani. Trey Hansen has some GPP upside. Yeah, I don't really follow any golfers on Twitter or social media there, Jacob. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of confirmation bias when you follow those pros on social media. You're kind of just searching for something. So I kind of just like to fade the noise there and not really, listen to kind of what those golfers are saying. Now, if something pops up that's interesting, I might retweet it. But we should never really take that as, too much, because a golfer can say he sucks in his practice rounds and go off and, gets the top 10, or vice versa. You can say he's really hitting it well, hits 2 bad shots the whole round, and doesn't make the cut. So that's really why I hate looking at social media for those players. Thoughts on Troy Merritt? Troy Merritt I'm fine with. He has shown some really nice upside the last or pretty much since the break. If you guys caught the betting podcast, we've talked about him quite a bit. So he actually went to my alma mater, Winona State University, for like a year and a half, and then he transferred up. So he played D2 golf for a little bit. So I'm sure he had played this golf course. He has shown upside recently. Statistically speaking, normally throughout his career, this would be a great golf course for him. On the year, he hasn't been playing that well. He was playing well recently, but I do expect him to play well. Definitely just a GPP play. So Jason Duffner, I did think long and hard about. He's one of those guys where, I do expect him to make the cut. Just couldn't find a way to get him into my player pool. I'm fine with going into the higher end this week. It's fine. There's so many different ways to make a build this week. You can try to get 6 or 6 across the cut line and like really grind out a made cut on Friday afternoon, or you can kind of just schedule in a missed cut, which I've talked about a decent amount. Rowensky or Merritt GPP, I'd probably go Rowensky. I always like favoring the guys that have the cut upside, that are more likely to make the cut. So really, when I talk about GPP upside, and especially when it comes down to players like that, I'm assuming that you're just making a build off of a build, because you should always make your main build as the build that's going to, obviously have the most likelihood to get 6 or 6 across the cut line, or the one that you're expecting to make a profit. And then off of your main build, you make a bunch of sub builds that might have a little bit more upside, but they definitely have a little bit more downside. So yeah, Wensky for me for that. Any love for Chris Kirk this week? I have him at like 2% ownership. I threw him in a little bit. So Chase Seifert, I'll pull him up. You guys have talked about it quite a bit. I'll go into a little bit more in depth about Chase Seifert. That's like the 4th time someone's talked about him. So I'll talk about the stats. So he ranks 42nd stat fit. Okay, so 51st is his best stat fit this week, or best stat this week, and that's in total putting. Everything else is 72nd or worse. I think that pretty much sums it up as to like why he's only a GPP play. His comp course history, he only had a 38th finish at the comp course. That's it. That's all we got. So he does rank out as someone that should make the cut. Just not loving it this week. Let's see here. Only prize players I like are Finau, Casey. Yeah, so that's the problem. It's like Finau, Casey, Fleetwood, English, Clever. Those guys are really standing out as plays this week. It's just figuring out a way to work in those guys into your builds. So you're kind of just mix and matching this week, trying to, hopefully get 6 or 6 across the cut line, especially with those guys that are most likely to win this week. And you're kind of just hoping that a couple of them top 10 as well. Best FanDuel play between 9,000 and 9.5. I'm going to look it up real quick on my other computer here that I got going. I know FanDuel's been doing a great job this year of pricing it pretty much the exact same as DraftKings. So I'm assuming it's probably going to be like Harris English, but let me just double check. Normally I just go through and point out my favorite value plays. All right, so I got it pulled up here now. Searching through it. I'm assuming you're at the end of your build here, so let me just figure it out. Scott Stallings. That's your guy, Scott Stallings. If you want a lower owned GPP play, maybe Sam Ryder. Will Gordon's price there as well. Johnny V is a little bit higher than what you just asked, so it'd be Scott Stallings for me. Then Will Gordon. If you go for Johnny V, though, that'd be the route I'd want to go. Oh, boy, there's a lot more questions coming in. All right, give me a second to get caught up. Charlie Hoffman. Yeah, I get it. I get the hype for Hoffman. I'm off of him this week. Almost thought about playing him here. This tournament is going to be chaos. Hopefully, I'm hoping for that. I hope that this is a low week where 6 for 6 lineups are very low this week. I'm cheering for like 2% DK lineups with 6 for 6, and then it could be a really nice week. Who's some good chalk? Who's some bad chalk? Once again, I've answered this question throughout the weeks now. It's like there's really no such thing as good chalk or bad chalk, because if chalk makes the cut, it's not bad chalk. That's good chalk, So it's really kind of tough to say. I think Van Rooyen is going to be, quote unquote bad chalk. I don't get the hype for him. Bubba Watson is going to be quite highly owned as well, but obviously if they make the cut, it wasn't bad chalk. I don't like the thought process behind them being chalk, but if they make the cut, it wasn't bad. Yeah, I mean, Kepka and DJ, they definitely hinder your build that you can make, but I can see why people would want to take some like GPP risk with DJ a little bit. 6K range really isn't that bad. Honestly, it's crazy to say, but the 6K range is almost just as good as the 8K range, honestly, because the 8K range just has a lot of risk involved where it really hurts your build if one of those guys misses the cut. And there's just looking at the cut likelihood between the 8K range and the 6K range, it's kind of closer than you would than most weeks. So we'll put it that way. Obviously, the 8K range has more GPP upside this week than the 6K range, but questions are coming in pretty fast here. So let's see. Who do you like in the upper 6K range? I already talked about Chesson Hadley quite a bit. I like him quite a bit. I think Adam Schenk has some good GPP upside. I know Matthew Naismith has burned us quite a bit recently, but he has been playing pretty well in first rounds this whole year. If you want to play him on the showdown site, that's a way to play him. This is a much easier field. It's a much better course for him as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the cut as well. Homa bounces back. So don't play. I don't know if you bet and do DraftKings, like if you do both sides of it, I would just rather bet on Max Homa. I don't really feel comfortable playing him in DraftKings this week, but it does make a lot more sense as a betting player. So Siwoo Kim, not really on Siwoo Kim this week. He would probably rank out as a guy like right around 50 for me if I did. Like I said once again, if I did a player pool through like the top 65 players that I thought were going to make the cut, he'd probably be right in there. I just don't really like him this week. Fleetwood over Koepka. Yeah. I mean, the only reason why people would not want to play Fleetwood is because they haven't seen him. Maybe they're watching the live stream on PGA Tour here in about 30 minutes, and then they get to see him. Finau over both. Finau over both for sure. Because people love Brooks Koepka. A lot of DraftKings and FanDuel is name value. That's why Jordan Spieth has always been up there. Ricky Fowler's always been up there. It's just a lot of name value. Embrace the chaos. Yes, embrace the chaos. That's kind of what the theme of PGA DFS has been after the break pretty much. There's been a lot of chaos going on, which is awesome. So the premium content is already dropped. That dropped on Monday. The free article, I'm probably guessing that's what you're referencing. That is going to drop pretty much an hour after this. I'll get that out there for everyone to check out. It's kind of the last thing that I like to put out there for, free content, drawing a little bit more people to the page and whatnot. What's Will Gordon's ownership showing on FanDuel? I don't typically look at ownership. I just know when players are getting talked up that shouldn't be. I don't think Will Gordon's going to be that high owned this week. I can look at that later on after this as well, but it's just not a week where I'm not too worried about ownership. This is another week where I think we should just worry about trying to get 6 or 6 across the cut line, and if you do that, you're going to be set up pretty well. Jenna saying, thanks for the help last week. Hey, not a problem at all. Happy to help. Do you think you'll have a player in the 10K range? So for my cash build, I'll tell you guys right now, I do not have a 10K player in there. I thought about it. I thought about scheduling in a miscut, which is bad advice on a normal week or really any other week. This is not a normal week. We pretty much established that. But I didn't go that route. I kind of went the fair and balanced, safer approach with my cash build. So I know it's going to be a sweat that Friday, but I think we'll get there. I think it'll be 5 out of 6 this week. My favorite player in the 10K range, I already talked about Finau Casey. I talked about that on Monday's video as well. Do gotta say, guys, Friday, I actually had my bachelor party on Friday, so it's gonna be a fun day. I think I'm pretty excited for this week in general. 3M Open. Obviously, I went to college at a school in Minnesota. 3M Open, Twin Cities. That's like 3 hours away from where I went to school. Obviously, bachelor party weekend. It's gonna be a fun weekend. So I'm really thinking that this is gonna be a big week. Just on paper, it seems like it could be, but also I'm pretty just excited overall. Pat Perez, sneaky, low on play. He is. I like Pat Perez. He's right out someone that should make the cut, and anytime you can get a made cut at that price point, I do like it. Yeah, let's make pizza. There's a lot of great value out there. I'll pull up the slide one more time here, and then I'll probably close up here in about 5 or so minutes. But yeah, I'll pull it Yahoo once again. So we got Yahoo there again. Will Gordon, he's a good value, but he's $29. Why pay up for Will Gordon when you can get Norlander? Patrick Rogers, who has great GPP upside. Then, Scott Stallings once again. So there's that slide. All right, let's fix that camera. Get the zoomed out view going. All right, so going to be finishing up here. So probably going to touch on about 5 or so more comments here, and then I'm going to be wrapping up. Thoughts on Scott Piercy? I do like Scott Piercy at his price point here quite a bit. I noticed the camera's kind of out of focus right now. I apologize for that. Let's see. Can I fix it? Got it. Somewhat. All right. Nice. So, yeah, Scott Piercy, I don't mind. I do expect him to make the cut. He grades out decently well. Obviously, he played really well here last year. But last year, Scott Piercy was an easy core play, but he was checking all the boxes. He was total driving, ball striking. He was putting pretty well. He had some great birdie or better percentage. Obviously, he doesn't have that going this year, so that's the worry with him. But I think he could find some magic and do decently well here. You thinking it's the Stars and Scrubs week? I don't say you have to go 2 10K plays. You can do that if you want. It's really just dealer's choice this week. You can risk it with Lucas Govler, Harris English, where they're juiced up a little bit, but they're, according to the rest of the field, they're great plays. But I do think the safe route is like Paul Casey and Tony Finau. If you want to fit in Fleetwood, you can. Pat Perez, I just touched on. I do like Pat Perez quite a bit for a made cut. Charles Howell, it's weird to say that Charles Howell is a GPP play only, but that's what he is. Great course history. Well, he made the cut last year, and he has good comp course history is what I'm trying to say there. So don't mind that play. Ventura is okay. Kirk, I don't mind. Kirk is in the player pool. Let's see here. Trying to get through as quickly. I'm about to wrap up. So, well, congrats on getting married there as well. Bachelor party will be fun. So we're going up to the UP, actually. Going to do some paintballing, some whitewater rafting and whatnot. So it should be a pretty good time, hopefully, right? Thoughts on Tringale? So Tringale, I do like a decent amount. He should make the cut. He typically is a cut maker. Not the best at it, but he always kind of finds a way to make it work. So I don't mind him as a play. He's priced decently as well. There's some other players in his price point range that I do like. I do have him at about, I think it was like 7% ownership this week. I'd have to double check that. So Ventura, he was popping for me a little bit. I couldn't put him into my player pool this week. I almost did. Hey, thanks, Let's Make Pizza. I appreciate it, man. Let's see here. Fleetwood or Casey. I'm going with Casey for me. Dude, I know Casey, though. That's exactly it. It's like you want to play Casey. You know he's the right play, but he's just burned you so many times in the past that it makes it tough to. I know. I get it. That's Paul Casey right there for you, but I think we just go with him. Favorite toppings on pizza, I'm pretty simple there. Sausage, pizza, and then favorite alcoholic drink is that Gin Fresca. It's pretty darn good stuff there. If you haven't tried it, you should. A little bit of ice in there, it's good stuff. But that's going to be all. I'm going to be wrapping up here, guys. If you guys have a couple of quick questions, get that in here. But that's, it's kind of a simpler week this week not a simple week, I shouldn't say that, but there's like 10 or so plays that kind of stand out to everyone. Not everyone, but kind of on the model and on the stat sheet this week. Players that should make the cut. And then there's just a bunch of kind of high-risk GPP plays, some interesting 7K plays. So I do think that this is a week you can attack, but kind of be smart with it. Really think about your lineup path and trying to get, at least 5 out of 6 across the cut line. Am I high or low on Harman? Lower, but I do have him in the player pool. Just to wrap up my last thought there, it's like I'm going through my lineups this week and I'm like, yeah, I can fit Tony Finau, Paul Casey, and some scrub values in there. You're hoping that one of the values make the cut and you can get 5 out of 6 and have a few top 10s there, and that should make the lineup cash. But I do think there's going to be at least 3 7K players in the winning lineup this week. What do I shoot when I normally go off? So I normally only have time for 9 holes. So it's pretty much just +3. Really depends on how I'm putting. Really comes and goes with that. So anywhere between even par, sometimes rarely under par, but and all the way to like +8. It really just depends on how I'm putting. Not high in Hoffman. Don't have him in the player pool. Almost have him. Jason Duffner is okay play. I didn't end up on him this week in the player pool though. But just to close up the video, like always, this is the PGA DFS membership. It's the best value out there for PGA DFS, $10 a month, guys. So I know there's some people out there that charge $10 for a chat. There's some people that charge like $40 just for their stat sheet. You know, we give that to you guys, all included in the $10, okay? The stat sheet is geared for you guys already. Everything's laid out for you. It's a simple and easy format for you to use. And then we give you the value breakdown, the core plays, the cheat sheet as well, weekly write-up, and then some last-minute thoughts. And then if the week isn't going our way, typically we can win the money back on showdown slates, normally round 2 or round 3. So I also put that content out there as well. Don't bring up Burger to close the video. What are you doing to me? The double bogey from the fairway at 18 with a 5-foot putt really did hurt quite a bit. It would have been a nice week had he made the cut, but that's the glory of PGA DFS. Honestly, that's what makes it fun because there's always a cut sweat pretty much every week. I know like 3 weeks ago when we had 6 or 6 across the cut line, it really wasn't a sweat, and it wasn't as fun as the last 2 weeks, which the last 2 weeks have not been as good of weeks, but it kind of took the fun out of it because there was no sweat at all. But, you know, it kind of is what makes GPP fun. So what's my winner? So we on the One and Done podcast, who did I go with? I almost forget now. I think it was Tony Finau. It was my one and done pick on the betting podcast yesterday. So that's who I'm going to pick. But, I mean, there's like 5 guys I really do think are going to win. He did it on purpose. He might have. I don't know. He's just sick of that course. He's like, I don't want to play in the windy conditions tomorrow and the next day. He's like, this course is playing poorly. But I'm going to be wrapping up here, guys. I do appreciate it. This was a fun podcast. They keep on getting better and more fun. That's a lot due to you guys coming in here with the questions, getting the chat going. So definitely fun. We'll keep that up. We'll keep it going next week. So I'll see you guys on Monday. Let's have a good week. And as always, let's keep cashing. We're out.